Hey everyone, so I hope y'all had a really great Christmas. I know I was gone there for a couple days, but I did want to wish you all a Merry Christmas before we got back into making some content. I was visiting my father there in a different state, so I didn't have my equipment or anything, and I just wanted to take a break from working in general. But I am back, and today we're actually going to be going over a response video to a community post that I made where I said, ask me anything and I'll answer it in a follow-up video. I wanted to do this because sometimes, I get comments on videos and I can't get around to all of them. So I figured this is a really nice way for me to just combine everything and do a response and go over some of the things that you guys have questions about in the game. Some of them, I'm going to have to make a dedicated video on just because the answer would be way too long. But yeah, we'll get around to that. I'll let you know which ones I'll be making a video on and which ones I won't. But anyway, the very first question we have is from 31 Do Work Son, and he asks, how do you get your speed so high and still have high attack, crit, and crit damage? So it depends. Some heroes require a bunch of different stats, really stat hungry. They need multiple ascensions to get additional stats to really maximize their damage output. Some heroes don't need any stats in a certain area, like Jerome. Jerome is a hero that can't crit, so that means that you don't need to worry about your crit rate, and you don't have to worry about your crit damage because he's never critting. So all you have to worry about is attack and speed. So it's really easy to get Jerome's speed high. On top of that, you have two other things that you need to watch out for other than just speed. So base speed goes a long way, but the amount of speed that you get in glyphs, and then if you have the ability to get speed in the physique mastery, also help with making your characters a lot faster. So let's take Gubeg as an example, right? Gubeg is a hero that has the highest base speed in the game, I believe. It's either him or Kyle. So Gubeg's base speed is 152. I need to go to the index. Gubeg's base speed is 152, and then I believe Kyle's is right around there. So 152 for Gubeg. And then Kyle is, let's see here, 151. Okay, yeah, so Gubeg does have the highest base speed in the game, I believe. But if you look at Gubeg's masteries and his glyphs, you'll see this is why he's actually not able to outspeed or be the fastest hero in the game. So he has 29 speed in his glyphs. This is something where the max is 31. At least that's the highest we've seen so far. So he's missing out on 2 speed there. And then on his mastery, he actually has crit damage in the physique and not speed. This hurts him. So he loses out on 15 speed already, along with the 2 speed glyphs that are available on other heroes. So if somebody had the same base speed as him, at 152 that we saw in the index, if he's level 60, he's already 17 points of speed slower than the person that would have the same base speed in him because his glyphs are not maxed out along with his mastery. So there are heroes that will have a lot lower base speed than Gubeg. Heroes like Desdemona. So Desdemona and Dark Ophelia, they both have 140 base speed. But the thing is they have the glyphs that give them 31 speed, and then they have speed on their physique. So they're actually able to outspeed Gubeg easily. They have the 17 plus speed on top of what Gubeg can't get. So Gubeg is 12 speed higher from the base standpoint, and then on top of that, Gubeg, like I said, comes up short on the glyphs and the mastery. So they end up being 5 points of speed higher than Goobeg if they have the same exact gear. The other thing for speed is gear plays a huge part. A huge part. People cannot underestimate gear. So on the Raider set, right? If you have a 2-piece set, it gives you 15 speed already. So if you have 4 sets, 3 full sets, right? 1, 2, and 3, you're automatically getting 45 speed. That's huge. On top of that, they introduced these Fable pieces, right? Now on your hood and on your chest piece here, you can't have speed as a substat, so you really are dependent on this swift piece of gear. So even though this is only plus 5 speed, this is 5 speed that you were never going to get otherwise. So these swift pieces go a long way to help you with speed. You have to use speed boots, and then you have to look for speed substats. A lot of people will throw out a piece of gear that has all flat stats and speed. You should never do that. You should always roll your pieces that have speed as a substat, because you just never know if you're going to get multiple rolls. So as you see here, Jerome has a lot of really nice substats on speed along with that swift piece of gear, and he has the right masteries. So he has speed on his mastery, and then he has decent glyphs, and that's how he's able to get 331 speed. And as I mentioned before, he doesn't need crit rate or crit damage. So all you're focusing on is truly attack and speed. So that's how I get my speed so high, is I really prioritize speed substats. I try and find out the heroes that don't really need any other stats other than speed and maybe 1 or 2 other categories, and you find really specific gear for that. So I hope that answered your question. Do work, son. Okay. Next one is Cyber Free. So Cyber Free asked me, why did I stop doing RTA? So I did not stop doing RTA. I stream, or have streamed. It's not as consistent as I want because my job, I travel a lot for work. So whenever I'm traveling, I can't stream because I'm usually in meetings and stuff like that. But when I'm home, I do stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays around lunchtime for me in the States. So if it's Europe time, it's usually right around when you guys get off work. And then if it's Asian Pacific time, I think a lot of times it's like later at night, maybe close to 11 o'clock at night, which is pretty tough for those people, but it's really the only time that I can stream. But I do RTA during streams. It's the best way to kind of interact with the viewers and things like that. The other thing is I know people have missed my videos. So something that has come up in comments and people have asked, but I've been playing on this Jimmy Plant account. This is not the original account that I started on, but a friend of mine who was in the community for a long time quit. He quit, got married, he came back, played on a different account for like casual purposes, and he's basically non-existent. He's still hanging out in the community, but his account was so much better than mine. So I just wanted to play on a better account because, in all honesty, I was losing interest again in the game, and I didn't want to do that. So I had the ability to take over his account and play on it, and that's what I've been doing. So if people are okay with that, and I'm putting out RTA videos with this account, then that's fine. I can start doing RTA videos, but I play tons of RTA on Twitch. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so I've had a couple different requests to get my free-to-play account back up. So I still have the free-to-play account. The issue was, on the free-to-play, the views actually weren't that high. The views weren't high, and I was actually getting some dislikes on the content. So it made me think that people weren't really interested in the free-to-play videos. The The other thing is with some of the new things that came out, like the new dungeons, they went back on their normal guild versus guild schedule, and then on top of that, I was also traveling a lot for work the past 2 months, so the free-to-play definitely took a hit in the amount that I was playing it. But I do still have it. If you guys do want to see, some free-to-play content, I can make it. But I don't think it's going to be a constant update. I think what I would probably do is grind a little bit, maybe prioritize some heroes, and see, what are the better teams that I can get for dungeons, because I think that's what most people are interested in, is the free-to-play aspect of the dungeons. So if you guys are happy with that, let me know in the comments below, and we'll talk about that a little bit further, depending on, what you guys feel about my response there. So Mr. Orion asked for a hero card for PvE and Guild vs. Environment Cordelia or Gavin, and then asked which is a better choice. And then he said he already invested in Rosalie. So, a hero card. What I would say is, 1, Cordelia is 100% better than Gavin in Guild vs. Environment. She is probably the best hero in Guild versus Environment, in my opinion. I think she is hands down the best one. Her morph ability takes out all of the defense in the enemy, and you have a lot of heroes there that can do splash damage. You can focus down and then equalize HP with someone like Divine Yolanda. So Cordelia is 100% the better hero there for sure. And her gear isn't super important. So I have her in Dragon Scale and Raider for PvP, and I haven't switched up her build at all for Guild versus Environment. I don't think you need to. You just build her with enough health, that she's not going to die. And you make sure that she's in there to support and make sure that the most viable threat is always morphed, and then the hero that you're trying to focus down is your other morph target. So Cordelia is definitely better. Gavin, though, I think is a really solid person to invest books and potentially some pots. So I still have my Gavin at A1, and he is my main damage dealer for, let's see here, two dungeons. So he does Tulpa and he also does Dragon for me. I have Guan Yu doing Witch of the Wind 19, so I don't need Gavin there. But I'm still happy about Gavin in general because I also use Gavin in Rift of Chaos. So he's just in an assassin set. I've showed these stats before. He's got 412 crit damage, 6,400 attack, and I think he still has room for improvement. So his next ascension is speed, which is really nice because then I can prioritize attack stats more than his speed stats. Whenever you have those ascensions in speed, you have the ability to kind of get rid of speed boots, and you have the potential to do attack percentage boots. This goes a long way with damage output. But to answer your question, if you're looking for someone to invest in, Cordelia is the route. But the nice thing about Cordelia is good just in general. She doesn't need any books. She doesn't need ascensions, in my opinion. Mine isn't ascended, if I can find her here. She's up here somewhere. Yeah, so like I said, my Cordelia, no books, no ascensions. So she's just baseline, so you don't even have to invest in her, which is, another great thing about Cordelia. So thank you for the question. All right, so next up is a question from Mark. He said, can you make a video about arena defense in Guild versus Guild? So yes, I can definitely make videos on those. Arena defense, I'll just answer very broad strokes here. Arena defense, you're looking for heroes that cause issues with revive, cause issues with no revive for your opponent. So you have heroes like Divine Yolanda. Whenever she kills somebody, you can't revive a hero with her ultimate. This is a real pain in the butt. So arena defenses that incorporate a couple things. One, revivability on their end, right? So people like Vengeful Hassle, people like Mathasia, who is definitely no longer like an extremely strong choice just because there's so many strong fire heroes out there, and she's weak to Giranol, which is definitely one of the premier arena offense people. But you're looking for tanks, you're looking for people that can revive heroes, and you're looking for people that have the ability to have some kind of RNG aspect. That's why heroes like Adeline are very strong. So Adeline has that ability where she flips in between her stages and can completely nullify an attack. Whenever you have that type of RNG aspect, it turns into a really good arena defense. But I will touch on that more in a separate video because I'll go over arena defenses because it ties in, hand to hand with guild versus guild. So I will talk about those things with you, Mark, in a separate video. So thank you for the question, but that is kind of my broad strokes answer. All right, so the next question comes from Gilamat5000. He said, out of interest, do you think the game is dead? If they don't even touch the balance of broken LD legendaries, it feels like the game is stuck. So I don't think the game is dead. I think it has a very niche amount of players. I think that the developers or the company itself needs to advertise more. That is definitely the bigger thing. I think they need to find ways to bring in new players because the game on its, in itself, I think is very good. I think they make a lot of mistakes in regards to, events that they do, the amount of content that they put out, but baseline for someone new to come in, I think there's a lot of things to do. I just want them to bring in more people because if they bring in more people, it's going to generate more revenue for the game, and then they'll have time to actually develop new pieces of content. So it goes hand in hand, but the old adage, you got to spend money to make money, I think is kind of true in this instance. And on top of that, in 2 days, they're introducing a balance patch where they've got a bunch of heroes being updated, including, old Light and Dark legendaries. They're getting some really nice buffs. Crazed Urzag is getting a good buff. Holy Armor Virgil's getting a good buff. Brand the Brilliant's getting a nice one. Urian, there's some speculation that he could be viable again. Both Dark Dragon Azrina and Corrupt Aurak are getting some nice boosts. So, no, I don't think the game is dead. I think they need to be careful with the type of things that they continue to do. They need to have more quality of life updates. This is something that the community's been asking for a while. But they have come out with some decent, events. This wheel event that they have is a big crowd pleaser because you have the ability to try and get some of these Soul Arcanas. This is a big thing in the game. This is probably your top priority, even over books nowadays. So I think they're doing some things right. So the next question comes from Vito. So Vito asked for more videos on dungeons and rifts. So I can definitely do this. This is my big problem with making content on dungeons or rifts. So I like making dungeon videos with the new heroes because it shows a different way that you could possibly complete that dungeon. The thing that I don't like doing is making just a specific dungeon video because, just as an example, what ends up happening, let's say you have this top team, right? And I show a dungeon run on the top team. What people will end up asking is, what's the replacement? That is not an easy question to answer because, one, I don't know your roster. Two, I don't know the type of gear that you have. There's so many different things that actually play into that question. So on the surface, it seems like an okay idea where it's just like, oh, hey, if I don't have 400% crit damage, but I have 390% crit damage, can I do the dungeon still? It's like, I don't know. I mean, you got to run it. I don't have a way to manipulate the crit damage. You know, it's very difficult to have a one-size-fits-all dungeon team. The best that you can do is kind of present a team and then say, hey, you know, go and tweak it a little bit, see if you can find heroes that do similar roles. So I can make dungeon teams if people want to see that. Just for reference, you know, something to strive to. But I will tell you up front, when it comes to asking if there's a replacement, I'll most likely ignore those comments just because, like, I don't honestly know, just because I don't have enough context of what your account offers. Rift of Chaos, same thing. You know, a lot of it plays into mechanics. I've made specific videos talking about the mechanics of the dungeon, which are trying to help make you be able to build specific teams. That's the point of those videos. I don't want to show you a team and then you guys try and mimic it and then it doesn't work and then you're like, oh, this doesn't work. What's a replacement? Those are things that, you know, they're just not beneficial to anybody in my opinion. So, but to answer your question, Vito, I will make some updated dungeon teams, maybe the ones I'm using, and then we'll go from there. If they do well, you know, if people give them thumbs ups, if there's thumbs downs, I probably won't make them anymore because a lot of people don't see the analytics of those things. They do tend to get a lot of thumbs down because people feel like the teams or the commentary around the teams is out of touch. I've had multiple people say, oh, yeah, it's so easy whenever you have, you know, 400% crit damage on your heroes and 250 speed. It's just like, well, yeah, it is. But that's also the point of a gacha game. You have to grind, you know, and if you can't, then you have to find another solution. But that's the solution that we found. Okay, so I'm done with that one. Next up, we have Nova Like a Star. Says, guides on PvE, definitely. Best teams, minimum requirements for every stage in the dungeons, Rift Tower, everything, and best way to manage resources. Anything and everything you can give us. So this one is just general. It seems to be generally around how to manage things, how to be efficient. At least that's what I'm getting from this. So playing back to the minimum requirements on every stage in the dungeon, I think that's where the free-to-play teams will really help. You'll see the very low end of those things. You'll be able to see, you know, just completion. It's not going to be for speed. It's just, hey, this is what you can do. This is, you know, a background stage team that you can utilize whenever you're away from your computer because it's going to take a long time to complete, but you're able to complete it. And, you know, you're not wasting resources that you don't have to. You can put it into elite heroes and yada, yada, yada. So I can work towards that. I think we're going to try and really focus on the free-to-play to answer the questions that you have here. And we'll go from there. Hopefully that satisfies that request. I think it should. And we'll just go from there. All right, so Mark asked if I can make a video on the new Christmas event. So this Christmas event is okay. So I think right now, yeah, I got 6 million. And guys, all I truly did was look at the individual rankings. I know Machine put out a really good video. Him and What's Up are kind of battling it out. Sweenot's in there. Han, this is cool. Maybe I'll make a video on that tomorrow. There's not much time left on the event. This is kind of tough, but I guess you only need one instance of this. I can honestly say that if you have Maeve, Aaron, and then Hyunwoo, I think this team gets the most damage. And then this is sort of a follow-up team. But anyway, I'll see if I have time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one, though, Mark. I'm kind of a little late. The way the timing of this event kind of just didn't work out for this question, so I'm sorry about that. All right, so we're almost done here. So Nathan asked, can you please do a guide on Bul-in and her induction and her at A5? So he has a Bul-in at A4, and he wants to know if the A5 is a big difference in damage. So I think I could probably make a video specific on Bul-in because I think she's kind of underrated. She has a really great aura. I think she's 100% viable in Queen of Tides even now because she has immunity, which kind of gets rid of the stuns. She has buff removal, and she doesn't have any kind of negative debuff, which is something that you have to avoid on Queen of Tides. So her induction, right? So what her induction does is it deals damage based on her attack. If you ever see this, Nathan, and I will make a dedicated video to this, so you can watch out for that one, okay? You 100% want to focus on attack for Bul-in over crit damage. So crit damage is okay, but your attack stat is way more important because a lot of her damage comes from her induction. Now, what her trait says is damage dealt is increased by 100% when infected by induction. So we'll show this in the video, but it doesn't increase her induction output. At least I believe it doesn't. What it does is if she has induction or the enemy has induction on them, then Bul-in's damage is increased by 100%. But the thing is, as I've already mentioned, most of her damage comes from the induction itself, not from her ultimate or her basic ability. So I will say that I don't think it's a huge boost. I don't think you should waste an Ascension pot on her, but we will make a video talking about her damage output with that later on. But short answer, I would not worry about wasting an Ascension pot on that. All right, we got two left here. So Ace says, update on relic substats to focus on and guidance on mid to end game transition. So I can definitely do that. We're going to be talking about Rift of Chaos teams based on previous questions in the Ask Me Anything. So we will do that. We'll talk about the relics that you're supposed to be looking for, you know, your substats, all of those things whenever it comes to Rift of Chaos. So thank you for that question. I will keep that in the back of my mind whenever we're making content. Okay, so the last question is from Ramstein fan, and he says the trait of Nero, is this plus 50% defense from his base defense or from total? So I'm almost positive what this calculates is the defense going into the battle. So he will get a 50% defense boost off of this 4,000. So the 4,000 times 50%, he gets an additional 2,000 defense boost based on that. Now, the reason why this is important is sometimes he's paired up with heroes like Hatara, and Hatara adds in additional defense whenever she comes in with an aura. His increased defense, I'm almost positive, does not calculate off of that. It calculates off of his defense that he takes into the beginning of the battle. So I hope that answered your question. That is all I have, guys. Thank you for submitting your questions. I really appreciate it. It gives me some ideas for future content. It lets me know what you guys are missing. You know, it gives me the opportunity to follow up on some of these questions that I've seen in other videos and hopefully give you a quick answer, you know, in this video, but then also a more detailed response whenever I make a video based on your requests. So thank you very much for that. I'll catch you around on the next one. See ya.